history had barely settled over Washington before the whispers turned into stunned silence. The lights of the DC Open had witnessed something so dramatic, so emotionally overwhelming, that even one of the most accomplished champions on the tour could no longer hide her admiration. Jessica Pegula had walked onto that court carrying the expectations of a favorite, the confidence of an established star, and the belief that experience would once again separate the elite from the rising challenger. Yet by the time the final point echoed through the stadium, everything had changed. The tennis world expected disappointment from the runner-up. It expected polite congratulations. It expected the familiar collection of carefully chosen words that usually follow a heartbreaking defeat. Instead, what came next caught thousands of fans completely off guard. Jessica Pegula looked across the net at Alex Eala and offered praise that carried far more weight than a routine post-match compliment. She described Eala as amazing after their fierce championship battle, acknowledging the extraordinary level the young Filipina had reached during the final and throughout the tournament. Her remarks immediately fueled discussion because they came from someone who had experienced Eala's relentless tennis firsthand on the biggest stage of the week. ABS-CBN +1 for years, Alex Eala had been introduced as the promising youngster, the gifted left-hander, the talented graduate of the Rafa Nadal Academy, the player with enormous potential who still needed time before truly challenging the giants of the sport. Potential, promise, future. Those words suddenly felt outdated. Because what unfolded inside that stadium was no longer about possibility, it became undeniable reality. Every rally seemed to carry the weight of an entire nation's dreams. Every fearless swing from Eala's racket pushed another layer of doubt into the shadows. She refused to play with hesitation. She refused to respect reputations. She refused to allow the occasion to become larger than her belief. Across the net stood Jessica Pegula, a player respected for consistency, intelligence, and relentless competitiveness. A champion accustomed to surviving pressure. Someone who had already proven countless times that she belonged among the world's finest. Yet something about Alex Eala felt different. She wasn't simply trying to compete, she was trying to change history. The opening exchanges suggested exactly the battle everyone expected. Pegula's experience created problems, her precision forced difficult decisions. Every point became a chess match played at breathtaking speed. But even as momentum shifted back and forth, there was something unmistakable in Eala's body language. She never looked intimidated, she never searched desperately for answers. Instead, she looked like someone who had already convinced herself she belonged exactly where she was. That quiet confidence slowly began spreading through the crowd. Supporters who arrived hoping for an entertaining final suddenly sensed they might be witnessing something much bigger. Every courageous winner generated louder cheers. Every impossible retrieval inspired greater belief. Every fist pump from Eala seemed to energize thousands watching inside the stadium and millions following around the world. Then adversity arrived. Champions are often defined not by perfect moments but by their response when everything starts slipping away. Many young players panic. Many begin forcing impossible shots. Many allow frustration to cloud judgment. Alex Eala chose another path. She trusted her tennis. She trusted her preparation. She trusted herself. Point after point, game after game, she kept asking the same difficult question. Could Pegula continue matching this fearless intensity? As the match stretched forward, the answer slowly revealed itself. Eala's aggressive baseline game became sharper. Her movement grew lighter. Her confidence became contagious. The pressure began changing sides of the net. Suddenly, it was Pegula searching for solutions. Suddenly, the experienced favorite was the one reacting. Suddenly, the impossible no longer looked impossible at all. The atmosphere transformed into something unforgettable. Filipino flags waved proudly. Voices grew louder. Every spectacular rally felt like another chapter being written into sporting history. The emotion extended far beyond a tennis tournament. This was about belief. This was about representation. This was about proving that greatness can emerge from places many never expected. When the final moments finally arrived, the emotion became impossible to contain. Alex Eala completed an astonishing comeback to capture the DC Open title, becoming the first Filipino player to win a WTA Tour-level singles championship after defeating Jessica Pegula in 3 sets to victory also propelled Eala to a career-high world ranking inside the top 20, marking one of the most significant breakthroughs in recent women's tennis. Reuters +1. Yet perhaps the most remarkable scene came after the final handshake. There was disappointment, there was exhaustion, there was heartbreak, but there was also unmistakable respect. Jessica Pegula understood exactly what had happened. She had not simply lost to an opponent enjoying one magical afternoon. She had encountered a player whose confidence, courage, and relentless determination announced the arrival of a genuine new force in women's tennis. That understanding gave extraordinary weight to her public praise afterward. Fans immediately reacted because elite athletes rarely offer such heartfelt admiration unless they truly believe they have witnessed something exceptional. Social media exploded. Commentators replay every quote. Supporters celebrated not only the championship itself, but also the validation coming from one of the sport's established stars. For Alex Eala, those words represented more than kindness, they represented acceptance. Acceptance that she no longer belonged among tennis prospects, she belonged among tennis contenders. And perhaps that realization is what shocked the tennis world most of all. Because championships can surprise people. Upsets happen, fairy tales occasionally become reality. But when a respected rival locally acknowledges that a new star has truly arrived, the conversation changes forever. Jessica Pegula's statement did exactly that. It transformed admiration into confirmation. It confirmed what millions had just witnessed with their own eyes. Alex Eala was no longer chasing the future, she had become part of the present. The celebration that erupted inside the stadium could not be measured simply by the volume of applause. It was the sound of disbelief giving way to acceptance. The impossible had become undeniable. Every camera searched for Alex Eala, every microphone followed her movement. Every journalist suddenly realized that the biggest story in Washington was no longer about the established champions who had arrived expecting another routine week. It belonged entirely to the fearless young woman who had refused to accept the limits others had quietly placed around her career. For countless young athletes watching from living rooms across the Philippines, the moment felt deeply personal. They had followed every difficult season. They had celebrated every small breakthrough. They had defended her whenever critics claimed she was still too inexperienced to challenge the world's biggest names. Now those same supporters were witnessing something they had dreamed about for years. The dream had become reality. Yet the journey to this extraordinary afternoon had never been smooth. There were painful defeats. There were tournaments where confidence disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived. There were long training sessions when nobody outside her closest circle could see the sacrifices being made. There were moments when the headlines questioned whether expectations had become too heavy. Every young player experiences doubt. Every rising star eventually encounters setbacks that threaten momentum. The difference between ordinary careers and unforgettable ones often lies in how those difficult days are answered. Alex Eala never stopped believing, even when results failed to reflect her ability. Even when rankings moved more slowly than many expected. Even when critics searched for reasons to lower expectations. She continued building, she continued learning. She continued preparing for a moment exactly like this one. That is why Jessica Pegula's words carried extraordinary emotional power. They did not sound rehearsed. They did not feel polite. They came from direct experience. Only someone standing across the net truly understands the speed of an opponent's shots, the intelligence behind every tactical adjustment, the courage required to attack under unbearable pressure. Pegula had experienced all of it. She had seen the precision. She had felt the pace. She had watched Eala solve one challenge after another without allowing emotion to overwhelm discipline. When an established champion acknowledges those qualities, the entire tennis community pays attention. Former players began discussing what separated Eala from many other promising talents. Some pointed toward her remarkable court awareness. Others praised the maturity of her decision-making. Many highlighted her willingness to attack instead of waiting for mistakes. But nearly everyone returned to one characteristic: fearlessness. There was something unmistakable about the way she embraced the biggest moments. Pressure appeared to sharpen her focus rather than weaken it. Every critical point became another opportunity instead of another burden. That mentality cannot easily be taught. It must be earned through countless battles hidden far away from television cameras. As highlights from the championship spread across the world, fans replayed the most dramatic rallies again and again. One exchange demonstrated extraordinary defense before exploding into fearless offense. Another showcased perfect anticipation, another revealed astonishing athleticism that left spectators rising to their feet almost before the point had even ended. Every replay strength and the same conclusion. This performance was no accident, it was the product of years devoted entirely to improvement. Meanwhile, conversations extended far beyond the tennis itself. Sponsors noticed, tournament organizers noticed, young athletes noticed, television networks noticed. Whenever a new star captures global attention, opportunities begin arriving almost immediately. The financial rewards associated with such a breakthrough suddenly become enormous. The champion's prize money represented an important milestone, but many observers understood that its significance extended much further. Victories of this magnitude often opened doors to endorsement partnerships, international recognition, and invitations to the sport's biggest stages. Each success builds another layer of confidence. Each headline introduces the athlete to millions of new supporters. Each unforgettable performance transforms reputation into lasting influence. For Alex Eala, this championship promised far more than one unforgettable trophy. It suggested the beginning of an entirely new chapter. Children picked up rackets imagining they might someday follow the same path. Parents looked at local tennis courts with renewed optimism. Coaches found fresh inspiration while encouraging the next generation. An entire sporting community suddenly possessed living proof that extraordinary dreams could become reality. The emotional impact reached well beyond rankings and statistics. National pride filled every conversation. Across social media, supporters celebrated not merely because a title had been won. They celebrated because history had been rewritten. For decades, Filipino sports fans had waited for moments capable of standing alongside the country's greatest athletic achievements. This championship instantly joined those cherished memories. Every photograph of Eala lifting the trophy seemed to symbolize something larger than personal success. It represented perseverance, it represented courage. It represented possibility. Jessica Pegula understood all of that as well. Defeat always hurts. Champions dedicate countless hours preparing for opportunities exactly like championship finals. Losing them never becomes easy, yet true competitors recognize greatness when they encounter it. Pegula's gracious response reflected the highest traditions of professional tennis. Rather than allowing disappointment to overshadow honesty, she acknowledged what everyone had witnessed. Alex Eala had produced championship tennis worthy of admiration. That honesty resonated with fans around the world. Many praised Pegula's sportsmanship almost as enthusiastically as they celebrated Eala's triumph. Moments like these remind audiences why tennis occupies such a unique place among global sports. Fierce competition can coexist with profound respect. Opponents can battle relentlessly before embracing one another with genuine appreciation. Victory matters, but character matters too. The images from the trophy ceremony captured both qualities beautifully. Eala smiled through overwhelming emotion. Pegula applauded with visible sincerity. The crowd responded to both women with heartfelt appreciation. It was a scene destined to remain part of tournament history for many years. Long after the stadium lights dimmed, discussions continued across every corner of the tennis world. Could Alex Eala carry this momentum into the next major events? Had women's tennis just witnessed the arrival of its newest superstar? Would the established elite now begin preparing differently whenever her name appeared in the draw? These questions suddenly felt completely reasonable. Only days earlier, many observers might have dismissed them as overly optimistic. Now they sounded inevitable. Because everything changes after a breakthrough of this magnitude. Confidence changes, expectations change. Opponents change, most importantly, self-belief changes. Alex Eala no longer needed anyone else to convince her that she belonged among the world's best. She had already proven it under the brightest spotlight available. And somewhere beyond the celebrations, beyond the interviews, beyond the headlines and unforgettable photographs, Another quiet realization began taking shape. The greatest chapters of her remarkable story might still be waiting just over the horizon. There is a profound difference between winning a championship and changing the direction of an entire sport. One is remembered in record books, the other is remembered in hearts. As dawn arrived the following morning, the images from Washington were already circling the globe. Sports channels replayed the trophy ceremony. Newspapers placed Alex Eala's triumphant smile across their front pages. Television analysts broke down every decisive rally, every fearless winner, every moment when the momentum tilted beyond recovery. Yet beneath every discussion lay the same question. Had the balance of power in women's tennis quietly shifted? The established hierarchy had seemed almost untouchable for so long. The biggest tournaments were expected to belong to familiar names. Experience was supposed to outweigh youthful ambition. Reputation was supposed to create invisible pressure before the first ball had even been struck. Alex Eala ignored every one of those unwritten rules. She walked onto the court believing that a ranking did not hit the tennis ball. A famous surname did not return a serve. Past achievements did not win today's points, only courage. Only preparation, only execution. Those simple truths became the foundation of one of the most unforgettable performances of the season. Veteran commentators admitted that they had underestimated her development. Some remembered watching her dominate the junior circuit and wondering whether that success could ever translate to the professional tour. Others recalled flashes of brilliance that seemed to arrive before disappearing beneath inconsistency. Now the picture looked completely different. The raw talent had evolved into polished confidence. The fearless shot-making had merged with remarkable patience. The emotional energy had matured into controlled intensity. Nothing about her game felt accidental anymore. Every rally appeared to have a purpose. Every tactical adjustment reflected growing experience. Every risk carried intelligent calculation instead of reckless emotion. Perhaps that was what impressed Jessica Pegula more than anything else. She was facing an opponent who attacked boldly, yet never abandoned discipline. An opponent who played aggressively without losing clarity. An opponent who trusted instinct while respecting strategy. That combination is extraordinarily difficult to achieve, even among established champions. The longer the final unfolded, the more obvious became that Eala was solving problems almost as quickly as they appeared. When Pegula changed direction, Eala adapted. When Pegula increased the pace, Eala responded with even greater conviction. When pressure reached its highest point, Eala somehow became calmer. That calmness spread through every stroke. There was no visible panic. No desperate rushing. No emotional collapse. Only quiet determination wrapped inside breathtaking athleticism. The crowd sensed it. They could feel that they were witnessing the birth of something lasting. Every standing ovation became louder than the previous one. Every spectacular point generated fresh waves of excitement. Strangers embraced one another after impossible rallies. Children climbed onto their parents' shoulders trying to catch another glimpse of the young champion. The atmosphere no longer resembled an ordinary tennis final. It felt like the arrival of a movement. Back in the Philippines, the emotional impact reached extraordinary levels. Families gathered around televisions long before sunrise. Friends exchanged messages filled with nervous excitement. Sports bars erupted every time Eala produced another remarkable winner. Social media overflowed with national flags, heartfelt congratulations, and emotional tributes celebrating an athlete who had inspired millions simply by refusing to surrender. Many longtime supporters remembered following her career from its earliest international appearances. They remembered the difficult defeats that never reached worldwide headlines. They remembered tournaments where valuable lessons arrived wrapped inside painful losses. Those memories made this victory even sweeter. Success is always more meaningful when people understand the road that led toward it. No championship is built in a single afternoon. It is built through thousands of unseen mornings, through exhausting practice sessions, through injuries overcome in silence, through lonely hotel rooms after heartbreaking defeats, through endless repetition, until extraordinary execution becomes second nature. Those invisible sacrifices suddenly became visible through one magnificent performance. That is why Jessica Pegula's words carried such extraordinary credibility. She had witnessed the finished product from the closest possible perspective, across the net, under pressure. With everything on the line, she knew exactly how difficult it had become to find answers. Her praise was not based upon reputation. It was based upon experience. That distinction mattered enormously. Within hours, former champions joined the conversation. Respected coaches praised Eala's competitive maturity. Analysts highlighted her improved serve placement. Others admired the creativity she displayed during the longest rallies. No single explanation fully captured what had happened. Because greatness rarely emerges from one quality alone. It emerges when dozens of strengths suddenly align at precisely the right moment. Confidence, preparation, discipline, belief, timing, heart. Alex Eala brought all of them onto the court together. And when the final point was won, the result became inevitable. The headlines continued multiplying. Some called it the upset that redefined the season. Others described it as the arrival of a future Grand Slam contender. Many simply declared that a new era had begun. Whether those predictions ultimately prove correct remains a question for the future. But one truth already stands beyond argument: nobody will overlook Alex Eala again. Every future opponent will study her carefully. Every tournament draw featuring her name will attract immediate attention. Every major event will carry fresh anticipation because spectators now understand exactly what she is capable of producing. That transformation may be the greatest reward of all. Respect cannot be demanded, it must be earned. In Washington, Alex Eala earned it from the entire tennis world. Not through words, not through promises, but through fearless action when the pressure reached its absolute peak. Years from now, people may struggle to remember every individual point from that unforgettable final. They may forget the precise sequence of momentum swings. They may lose track of the countless breathtaking rallies that left audiences speechless. But they will remember how the moment felt. They will remember the electricity inside the stadium. They will remember the emotion on Alex Eala's face. They will remember Jessica Pegula standing with dignity, acknowledging the remarkable level displayed by the young champion. And they will remember realizing, perhaps all at once, that they were watching more than a tournament. They were witnessing the beginning of a story destined to inspire generations of dreamers who dared to believe that courage could overcome reputation, that relentless effort could silence doubt, and that history sometimes chooses the boldest heart in the arena.